I'm Evelyn, and I'm a geoholic.
Oh, man. I love this song.
It's a new one for me.
Oh, you're going to love this band. If you have not heard of them, you are going to love this band. But I'm not going to be a spoiler. I'm going to let you introduce them here in a second. So before
I see what the name of the band is, and it's it's close to my heart for other reasons.
Is it? Well, you're going to have to expand on that. So here we are, episode 176.
176.
176. Oh man, we are gonna have so much fun tonight. We've got another great guest.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We are on a roll here, man. Oh man, we are putting out so much content right now. It's ridiculous.
Yes, and it's going to be fast and furious this summer.
You know, I agree. We've got a tremendous lineup of guests throughout the rest of the summer.
Mm-hmm. Trying to fit some more in.
But it is very interesting to me, though. In the summertime, the number of downloads go down a little bit because people are on vacation and they're just, they're doing other things and listening to podcasts. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
That's historically kind of been the trend, but we'll see if that happens.
We've been holding strong so far this year. So
let's do a couple co-host intros here. We have a special co-host guest with us this evening.
Yes, we do.
We have Rob Moores. Is it Moores or is it Moores?
Definitely the former. Not
is it Rob Moops or is it Moores?
Sometimes.
Or is it Rob Moops?
Moops. Okay, got it.
So Rob, interestingly enough, he works for our good friend Trent Keenan at Diamondback Land Surveying.
Absolutely. Our number one friend of the program.
Absolutely. Rob has been a supporter of the show as well for pretty much since we've been in existence. Really, really generous on social media. Has a great presence there as well. So Rob, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us. He happens to be working in Arizona this week. So we're like, hey, come on by the studio, hang out, drink some free beer. And he's like, okay.
Yeah. He had me at beer.
Count me in.
Twist my arm.
But we did tell him that as a guest co-host, there are responsibilities, especially when you're in studio.
Oh yes, absolutely.
One of those is making sure that the host and co-host, permanent host and co-host, beers are full.
Yes. What did you call me?
You're the guest co-host.
What did you call me earlier?
Mopes?
No. The beer job. What am I?
The
Geo beer bitch?
Geo bitch.
Just clarifying.
We are I think we should trademark that, make some stickers, Geo bitch. We'll see where that goes.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yep. So anyways, how are you, Sean?
I am doing outstanding.
Awesome.
I know, I'm sure, in the saga of the Faber estate remodel, that's moving quite well, actually. Got some new flooring going in. Looks phenomenal.
Nice.
I don't know how, but my wife and what she can see in her head and how she puts all these things, there's just all these tiles and all this stuff. Like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And the whole time I'm like, sure, it looks great. I don't know how it's all going to fit together.
Typical guy.
And then all the guys get done and I look at it and I'm like, this looks amazing. Like, how do you see what that's supposed to look like when you're in a tile store and there's every possible variety of tiles? So
interesting. Maybe she should do more of an interior design type thing.
Yeah, I think she's starting to find her niche here. I mean, she goes in and out of a lot of nice houses, so she gets a lot of inspiration. But
there you go.
There's just some people that can creatively see design and see these things, and there's people like probably most of us and most of our audience that just don't. Yep. They're more analytical, so it's just amazing when you see something like that come.
Or if you're somebody like myself that is colorblind, probably not a good interior designer.
Yeah, that's probably not going to work out. Even though we did a lot of black and white and a lot of patterns, so it's probably right up your alley.
Black and white is perfect.
Exactly.
I live my life in black and white. It's fantastic.
What about you, Kent? What's new in your world?
I got to mention something. I have failed the last couple of weeks to mention something.
Okay.
A good friend of ours, Kyle Schultz, might be Schultze. I'm not sure, but let's
go with Schultz.
That's how good a friend he is. He is managing, coordinating the 2023 National Boy Scout Jamboree, which is coming up July 17th to the 29th in West Virginia. This is a place where scouts from across the country get together in the spirit of scouting, of course, right?
Of course.
So Kyle is the booth coordinator for the Surveying Merit Badge.
Very cool.
Who knew? Who knew? Surveying Merit Badge, right? There is a Surveying Merit Badge. It's been around since, I think it was one of the original Surveying Merit Badges, actually. And when I was president of the United Surveyors of Arizona, I approached the local Boy Scout troop. I was like, hey, I know there's a surveying merit badge. Is anybody offering it? And they're like, no, nobody's offered it in like 20 years, whatever. So we offered it, and immediately it was like a waiting list every time we did it. So the surveying merit badge is a thing. It's super freaking cool. And Kyle, is looking for volunteers and donations to help support the booth. So if you're interested in volunteering or donating to support the surveying booth at this year's National Scout Jamboree, please email Kyle at Kyle.Schultze, SCHULTZE @gmail.com. This is a great cause, and I'm sure he could use any support we could possibly give him.
Oh, that's a great cause. Two things. One, I'm certain it's not Schultze, now that you spelled his name. And two, it sounds like something the Geoholics are absolutely going to support.
100%. 100%. Other than that, I got a new hoopty. I wanted to be cool like Sean.
Yeah.
So I
saw it in the parking lot, man. It looks cool.
Jumped in 100%. New Forerunner.
Yeah, got the cool. What is it? The 40th anniversary color thing.
The red, orange, yellow. Is that
it looks cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that's got to be one of theirs.
It's really cool. It's awesome. It's the first new car I bought in quite some time. I'm the worst car purchaser in the world, just because I keep them for like 2 years and I trade them in and get something else. You know, it's like I could be so much further along in my life financially if I was not such a shitty car buyer.
I can tell you that the one I'm going to keep the longest is going to be my Forerunner.
I think this might be the last. Yeah. Well, hold on.
No,
not the last.
Yeah,
not the last.
No.
Hold on. I'm going to back up right now. But yes, I'm super excited. And I think I'm going to have it for a very long time.
I'm excited for you.
All right. Let's get on with this. Tell us about that opening number.
So that opening number is a band called Bad Sons. Close to my heart because the Suns had a crappy run in the playoffs this year.
Oh,
so
I see where you went with
Bad
that.
Sons,
Nice.
Bad Sons. You can get that.
Absolutely.
That was a song called Cardiac Arrest. Not well known band as far as I can tell, but the Bad Sons are an American indie rock band formed in 2012 in Woodland Hills, California. The band consists of members Christo Bowman, Gavin Bennett, Miles Morris, and Ray Libby. They gained popularity with their energetic and catchy brand of alternative rock, drawing influences from various genres such as new wave, post-punk, and pop rock.
And I like them.
Very
catchy.
That alone
catchy
is everything you should need.
Check this out. Speaking of cardiac arrest, I heard that Damar Hamlin is back at Bill's camp this year. Yes.
You don't say.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty exciting.
You think he's going to play this year?
Yeah, I think he's playing. Yeah, he's been cleared.
That is amazing.
He's been cleared. Yeah, absolutely. So cheers to Damar Hamlin.
Cheers to Damar. Yeah, thank you.
All right. We are, of course, in the Diamondback Land Surveying Studio this evening.
Or is this the Wisdom Wednesday studio?
No, it's Diamondback Land Surveying.
Okay.
I think I skipped one.
Okay, got it.
But since Rob was here,
I want
to make sure that we called it the Diamondback Land Surveying
That's
Studio
true.
tonight. So you got the full effect, the full experience. So, of course, as usual, thank you to Trent Keenan and Diamondback Land Surveying for their support of the show. And what are we up to next? Oh, Airworks. We have to shout out to our buddies at Airworks.
Yes.
Airworks somewhat random trivia. Are you prepared?
I am.
What do you got?
I was thinking about this last week, but I'm going to do it this week. I'm sure with our audience, it's near and dear to everyone's heart. I'm not going to say a whole bunch of stuff that's surprising, but we are in the middle of June, and in June is the day that occurs in late June that is known as the summer solstice. Everyone is, I'm sure all these geospatial nerds out here are well aware, but maybe I can have some little nuggets that you guys haven't heard before. The term solstice comes from the Latin words sol and sistere, which is to stand still. The solstice is the angle between the sun's rays and the plane of the Earth's equator, known as declination, where it appears to stand still. The most notable is in the Arctic Circle, where the sun hugs the horizon for a continuous 24 hours. And across the world, this has always been a thing at the summer solstice, which is not always the same day, but it's the longest day of the year. In ancient Egypt, the summer solstice coincided with the rising of the Nile River, which is very important to them at the time. Also, back in the day, the Irish would cut hazel branches on solstice eve to be used in search of gold, water, and precious jewels. Some other people confuse the solstice with the equinox, but the equinox occurs when the day and night are of equal length, and the sun is directly above the equator, which is twice a year. That's opposite calendar of the summer solstice. Yep. In Christianity, the summer solstice marked the festival of St. John the Baptist. Also, I didn't know this one. The northern hemisphere receives approximately 7% less sunlight during its summer than the southern hemisphere receives during its summer.
That's probably a good thing.
I'm guessing
living in Arizona.
Yeah. Here, yeah.
That's fine.
And the Earth is not the only planet to have a summer solstice. Mars' solstice occurs a few days after Earth's June solstice.
Really?
Yeah.
That is very. So when is the longest day of the year as far as daylight?
It's
summer
the summer solstice,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's always either June, somewhere between June 20th and 22nd is usually when it happens. Okay. What I always do every year is the closest weekend, closest Saturday usually to the summer solstice. I start as early as I can, and I play as many golf holes.
Do you really?
Through that day, yeah. My record is 58 holes.
So just another day for you not to go to work.
Well, I do it on a Saturday.
Oh.
But here in Phoenix in June, sometimes it can be outrageously hot. So playing 54 holes when it's above 110 is quite a feat. And
gotcha.
hopefully it'll be a little cooler this year, but we'll see how many. And as I get older, it gets harder and harder to pull that off. Typically, I get in about somewhere about the third round, I start falling over.
You know what I forgot to mention earlier? I watched one of my favorite movies of all time.
Weekend at Bernie's?
Weekend? No. Anchorman.
Oh, yes.
Anchorman. And you and I are kind of like the Ron Burgundy and Champ Kind of geospatial podcasts. And tonight we've got our own Brick Tamlin.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh man, it's so easy for me to get off track.
It is. It is. Let's pull it back together.
Let's pay one more bill. What do you say?
Sure.
All right. Next up, we got the Advanced Geodetic Survey's weekly words of wisdom. I had you in mind this week, Sean. With
I'm sure this is going to be good.
Okay, here we go. Failure is central to engineering. Every single calculation that an engineer makes is a failure calculation.
It is.
Successful engineering is all about understanding how things break or fail.
That is correct.
Good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Henry Petrosky, American engineer specializing in failure analysis and professor of civil engineering at Duke University.
Didn't know they had a good civil engineering department, but sure, everyone at Duke's pretty smart. I like that a lot.
I heard you're a big Duke fan.
Oh, my God.
Is that true?
No. Whatever the opposite of that is.
Why would my wife be calling me in the middle of the podcast? That's not good. All right.
The red button.
So the hang up button. Before we get to our guest this evening, here's this week's Bad Elf Minute.
Hello, Geoholics, and welcome to Bad Elf's Point of Beginning, a segment specially crafted for the consumption of geospatial news, history, and technology. We hope you enjoy the content and perhaps even learn something. My name is Dr. Nick Smolovsky. I'm a geoholic, and I'm here to be your geospatial guide. I can't remember the last time in my professional life where I didn't have some task or conversation related to the datums WGS84 and or NAD83. If you're like me, I bet you haven't either. Thus, let's take a minute and dive into the two systems. That way we can all be a bit more intelligent on the topic. As they say, a rising tide lifts all ships. WGS84, or the World Geodetic System of 1984, and NAD83, the North American Datum of 1983, are both reference systems used to establish a consistent and accurate framework for measuring and representing locations on the Earth's surface. While they serve similar purposes, there are some key differences between them. Let's review. Global versus regional access. WGS84 is a global reference system developed by the U.S. Department of Defense to provide a world geodetic reference frame. It is commonly used in GPS systems and satellite imagery. On the other hand, NAD83 is primarily used for geospatial applications within North America, including the United States, Canada, and Mexico. There is also differences in the datum shifts. WGS84 and NAD83 are based on different datums. WGS84 is based primarily on the Earth's center of mass, an ECEF, while NAD83 is based on a geocentric datum that accounts for the North American tectonic plate motion. This difference results in a shift between the coordinates obtained using the two systems, known as the datum shift. Let's talk accuracy. In terms of accuracy, both systems have undergone updates and improvements over time. WGS-84 is periodically refined to align with the latest measurements from satellite positioning systems such as GPS. NAT-83 also undergoes adjustments to account for changes in those tectonic plates we mentioned. Therefore, it's challenging to determine which is more accurate. It's probably a better bet to decide on using one or the other depending on where you are and what you're trying to do. When choosing WGS-84 and NAT-83, let's consider these following things. What's your scope? If the project is primarily focused on local and regional analysis within North America, NAT-83 would be more suitable choice due to the alignment of the area or geography. WGS-84, on the other hand, is generally preferred for global applications such as GPS and other global data sets. What's the compatibility of the data? It is also essential to ensure data consistency and compatibility within a project. If existing data or reference systems are based on NAT-83, it is more convenient to continue using NAT-83 to maintain consistency. Similarly, if the data are in an international collaboration or with global data sets involved, WGS-84 might be more appropriate. If you have any questions or comments about today's POB segment, please reach out to me via LinkedIn or through the Geoholics channels. And that does it for us at B2 Studios in sunny Texas. Live long and prosper, my friends.
All right. Let's get our guest in here. Tonight's guest, of course, is sponsored by XYHT Magazine. And if you have not signed up for your free subscription to XYHT Magazine,
got to do it.
You're absolutely missing out. Our guest this evening is Aaron Goldstein. And a little bit about Aaron before we loop him in here. He's born in a small town in southwestern Missouri called Anderson, Missouri. Have not heard of that one. He attended University of Kansas. Go. Jayhawks, where he received a BS in geology. He also later took GIS work at North Carolina State University.
Wolfpack, here we go.
Yeah, go Pack.
Go Pack.
Oh, what is this?
Pack.
This is the wolf. See the wolf. See, this is the ears and this is the
chicken
nose.
Dance.
This is Wolfpack.
That's the chicken dance.
Yeah, well,
whatever.
you're just ashamed because you actually found another person that went to your college.
I didn't want to mention it because I knew you were going to be so distracted from here on out. His hobbies include outdoor activities such as running, hiking, rock climbing, etc. Also enjoys taking photos, typically of architecture, city skylines, and landscapes. That's nice.
Look at that.
Very nice. His job currently is the regional department manager for UES's Virtual Design Consulting, better known as VDC. His passion is he's incredibly passionate about solving real-world problems that affect not only contractors, but the health and safety of those around him. Oh, my goodness. He seems like such a nice guy.
Let's get him in.
Nice.
Aaron, welcome to the Geoholics. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, hey guys, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
No question. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight.
Well, now that I know he's a Wolfpacker,
Yeah.
that I'm telling you, it's going to automatically be a better show.
This is gross.
Of course he is. But just don't
100%.
be
It's
doing
very
this shit all
dangerous.
night,
No.
though. Don't be doing that. I don't even know what that is. It's so weird.
You just wish you had something cool like that.
Was Aaron doing it too?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they were both doing
Oh,
it.
no.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. Man, oh, man. All right, so let's get on with the Trimble Pro Point icebreaker. I tried to, come up with this one, around the earth or whatever. But so what is more likely to be true? Is it more likely to be true that we landed on the moon in 1969?
Oh, jeez.
Or the earth is flat?
What kind of question is this?
Which one's more likely to be true?
Wait.
The way he's asking it's hurting my brain.
It really is. Really is.
I can go.
Aaron,
Please, Aaron, go ahead.
Flat Earth.
So my brother, he's an astrophysicist at the USRA, which is the United Space Research Association. And so obviously we all know the answer. The Earth is definitely not flat, and we definitely landed on the moon. That's for sure.
Oh, but I think what he's asking is which one is more likely to be true.
Yes.
I think that, I'm not, I take a pass on this one. This is
I blew his mind.
ridiculous.
It hurt his brain.
What about you, Rob? You got anything to follow up with on that one?
I I think you're insane for asking it.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's a whole nother episode.
I think what you're getting at is that it is easier for us to prove that the Earth is not flat versus to prove that we actually landed on the moon.
I'm with you. Yeah,
I like that answer.
Insane.
That's a great answer.
There has to be a ranking, and that's the ranking, even though it's a stupid question.
And I agree with your response. It is somewhat easier.
It is somewhat easier to prove.
Oh, man, good stuff. All right, let's get to know Aaron here a little bit. Growing up in rural Missouri, Tornado Alley. My goodness, did anything in your childhood have a direct effect on your career path?
Yeah, it's great that you asked that. In Missouri, it's kind of what we call layer cake geology. So it's just, horizontal rocks on top of horizontal rocks. So that really didn't play any part in, actually wanting to become a geologist or geophysicist. Actually, what really led to it is when I was very young, my family took a vacation trip to the great Washington, D.C., and we visited the Smithsonian Natural History Museum. And I just remember walking through there and seeing all the gemstones, all the rocks, all the diamonds and everything, and just being so just incredibly interested in that. And afterwards, I still have a pocketbook of all these gemstones and minerals that my father had bought for me when I was just like maybe 10 years old. And so that really kind of, I guess, led to me going down this path.
Yeah, that's super cool. I remember getting those books. I'm almost positive I know the books you're talking about, where you open them up and there's like all these little nuggets of whatever in there and kind of the name underneath it. It's pretty cool.
Fool's gold.
Oh,
Fool's gold.
Yeah, like it had like little samples of everything
or
like
something.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah, exactly.
And the little shiny ones, you're like, this one's got to be worth some money.
They're so shiny.
Anything shiny's got to be worth money.
It's like my 6-year-old. Like, oh, look at that gem on the ground. I have to pick that up. It's funny because I saw this. I don't know, it was a meme or something, but it's like, you're an adult with a kid when you just somehow have rocks in your house.
Oh yeah.
Like you would never have rocks in your house unless you have a small child, and then all of a sudden they're just everywhere.
But some of those rocks have a lot of meaning.
You're not allowed to get rid of them.
Yeah. It's
I'm sure.
Because you're like, this is the rock I got at Disneyland. This is the rock I got when Dad stopped on the side of the road to take a shit.
Not Dad, but wow. Father of the year over here. Aaron, where are you located now? Where do you call home?
Yeah, I live out here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And
nice.
Yeah.
Good stuff. There's good people out there in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's all I know.
Yeah, believe it or not, we're actually decent people out here.
And all of a sudden, Sean's like Southern accent takes up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm telling you, it's like a switch. It just kind of pops out. Yeah. A couple bourbons and talking to somebody from North Carolina, it starts to get thick.
Oh my goodness. So, Aaron, you've worked on some really cool projects. What are a couple, maybe one or two, or one in particular that sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, I think the one that sticks out to me is I worked on a huge project out in the Bahamas right around the kind of the high point of the pandemic. Back in 2020, we had been enlisted to go out to the Bahamas and locate basically a whole entire tank farm's worth of underground infrastructure. And so we ended up having to fly out to the Bahamas. It was Grand Bahama Island at the time. The year prior, the island had actually gotten hit by a Category 5 hurricane. I think it was like Hurricane Dorian, if I remember correctly. And so we were out there for like 6 or 7 weeks on this island. They're just, the crazy part out there is because they're on an island, they hadn't really rebuilt a lot of things. So the whole entire infrastructure was pretty devastated out there. They had to ship all of their heavy equipment, all that stuff on barges from the U.S., mainly from Miami and Fort Lauderdale, down across the ocean to the island. And so we're out there just for, I think it was like 6 or 7 weeks. And right around when we're about to wrap up work, like a week right before a Category 1 hurricane came through and So we couldn't get off the island because of pandemic restrictions. They had shut down all the islands, no inter-island travel, no travel in and out of the country, except for just, regular supplies like food and water. So we're kind of just sitting there, I could see from our Airbnb, we're like a quarter of a mile from the coastline. Here comes this Category 1 hurricane, and, just hoping we're all good. We ended up being all right, obviously, because I'm here right now. Sure. And we finished up work and everything, and we had to take a private island hopper just to get us off and over into back to the States. But yeah, that was definitely like the biggest one that stuck out for me.
And you almost got stuck on a tropical island.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Crazy. That's horrible. My question is, what's with you and like catastrophic weather events? Whether it's tornadoes or hurricanes. I mean, geez.
They just follow me everywhere I go. I mean,
I see that.
I was in back in 2010, there was this F5 tornado in Joplin, Missouri. You might have heard of it. I know it made headlines.
Yep.
I was there in Joplin when that happened. Wow. I just luckily was on the other side of the city.
Oh my gosh.
But
never invite this guy to Phoenix.
No, don't come to Phoenix.
Sorry.
Don't worry, I'll bring the Dust Devils with me.
The haboobs. Bring the haboobs. All right. So I did fail to mention that you are a professional geologist.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
I failed to mention that. And talk about life at UES. What's a typical day look like for you? What do you love about working for this company?
Yeah. The great thing about UES and UES is expanded in terms of its what its actual company name is. It's Universal Engineering Sciences, but we've condensed that down just to UES. It's great work environment. I mean, the thing that I like the most about the company is just how much teamwork is really involved. It just feels like it's one huge family. We have offices all across the country. And I interface with individuals that are out in LA and Irvine area all the time, just like yesterday, as well as, interfacing with people, just sitting on my team as well. And so typically, what the average day looks like is, I'm giving presentations, at least 5 or 6 times a week. But we're also out in the field collecting data and translating that data into models that contractors and designers can use to make sure they're doing their due diligence. So there's a lot that goes on and is involved in that process.
Talk a little bit more specifically on what are you collecting? Like, what's the what did you mention your title was again? Fancy virtual underground data collector infrastructure guy.
Yeah.
Go into a little like how do you what's a typical project? What do you how do you figure out what's going on down there and what's a deliverable look like?
Yeah. Great question. So one of the main things that we focus on is geophysics, right? And geophysics really is just applied physics to the ground. So most oftenly, what our clients are finding most beneficial is looking for things like buried utilities, buried underground storage tanks, maybe even buried debris across their site. And so what we do is we deploy all these non-destructive sensors, essentially. So you're probably familiar with one, everybody knows of it, ground penetrating radar or GPR. So similar systems just like that. And we're detecting all of these different things going on below the ground. And essentially what we attempt to do is model this in both a 2D and 3D deliverable so that a client can work with this information. So you could figure, if a civil engineer needs to figure out where their underground utilities are out on their site, it's much more desirable to have that in a 3D environment where they can, decide, hey, at this depth, this utility is in conflict with our spread or mapped footing. So it's a good way of collecting that data and bundling it up so that clients can use it downstream.
So does geophysics take like subsurface utility engineering to another level? Is that kind of what we're talking about?
Yeah. So subsurface utility engineering, or SUE, it uses non-destructive techniques to locate underground infrastructure. So it at its core, it's using geophysics to locate underground infrastructure. So it's not the other way around.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So talk about how geophysics, how does it relate or benefit, the AEC industry in general?
Yeah. There's so many different applications that you can use geophysics for. I just named off a couple, looking for utilities, buried debris, looking for underground storage tanks. But it also can be applied more so in the engineering front. So we can use more traditional techniques like seismic and resistivity to determine what's going on below the ground, like down to 100 feet. So this is more like geological applications. So depth of bedrock, rock rippability, Poisson's ratio, stuff that we can send over to engineers and help them calculate, all these different metrics that they need to figure out. So not only are we, investigating what's very shallow, and by shallow I mean in the first couple of inches, then that would be more like looking for rebar or something like that. To intermediate depths where we're looking for utilities and those types of things, to deeper applications like geological things. So being able to quantify and qualify what's going on below the ground is very important to individuals in the AEC industry, just because oftentimes we come out to a site, we're redeveloping it, and we have no clue whatsoever what's going on below the ground. Maybe it's the site of an old oil and gas refinery that's been demoed and we've lost all of that historical documentation. While you would want to perform a geophysical investigation to, find out what really is going on beneath the ground.
So I got a selfish question. Living here in Arizona, fissures are a fairly big thing. Yep. Can you explain exactly what a fissure is?
A fissure, I'm not really particularly familiar with that, but I'd assume it's just like the opening up of the ground surface, just like pretty drastically and dramatically. I would assume, just based off my knowledge, that that's likely due to subsurface faulting of some sort. Yep. It's probably my best explanation to that.
Sure. Rob, you were shaking your head. Have you come across them?
Nevada, yeah.
Oh, you got them in Nevada as well?
Yeah, we have to monitor them in Las Vegas.
Interesting.
It's a very prevalent in this area in Nevada because we pull water out of the ground, drop the groundwater level, that will change the properties of the subsurface soil characteristics, and you'll get a shear break, and then all of a sudden that continues to open up. So back in the 50s, the groundwater was a couple hundred feet higher.
Couple hundred feet.
Yeah. So from the 50s to now, it's dropped, especially in the Phoenix area, it's dropped about 200 feet.
That's crazy.
And that drop has all the things that happen that you can imagine when you have soil that was underwater and now it's not. Some of it goes one place and some of it doesn't, and then that difference of when it daylights up at the surface, that then it starts to open up.
So not only are you guys like North Carolina dorks, but you're also
we're also technical dorks.
You guys are both dirt nerds.
Yes,
you're dirt nerds.
Yeah, what are we?
Right?
I like that. I like that. Dirt nerds. Yeah, let's go.
Like I need Poisson's ratio to do the calculations that we do.
Did you hear all the fancy words he used?
Yeah. Well,
like one after another.
I don't even know what he just said.
Survey, right? Right. What are you talking about?
So let's dig in a little bit about a common theme on the show is a lot about technology and where it's going and where the industry is going, and talk a little bit about kind of what were the tools used before, and where is the advancements in the technology and some of the cool stuff that you're doing to collect data better and how you're using it now.
Yeah. So we get this question a lot from clients. They ask, hey, what's the difference from, what, a private utility locator is versus what you guys do? One of the things I'll say is that, there's a lot of techniques, a lot of equipment that's available to pretty much anybody to purchase. Now, obviously, it's very, very expensive. Nowadays, GPRs are in the order of about $20,000. The more advanced systems are closer to 80 to 100K, if not higher than that, if it's a tow behind system. So, one of the things, though, is that a lot of these pieces of equipment, they do require some more professional experience, right? So having a background in geology and geophysics is very important, and in terms of not only collecting data, but interpreting that data. And so what we do is we have all these different techniques, whether it may be magnetics, electromagnetics, acoustics, gravity, for example, might be another one that we could use. And you guys might even be pretty familiar with that, because I know geodesy is one of the main things that surveyors really focus on, and that right there by itself is geophysics. So basically what the whole approach is that we're using all these different pieces of equipment that focus on a couple of main techniques. We basically choose each technique based off of what exactly we're trying to achieve. If the client's looking for something, really deep application, like looking for the depth to bedrock or looking for maybe even oil reservoir, that technique is very different than if you're looking for, subsurface voiding beneath a concrete slab. And so what we do is we have that expertise and we pick and choose each technique and each piece of equipment to meet those requirements. Now, one of the things to remember is I'd say GPR, for example, has gotten a really bad rep in the geophysics world over, I'd say, the last 20 or so years. And that's because I can train any of you guys to push a GPR system.
It's kind of like a lawnmower, right?
Yeah, it looks like a lawnmower. I could teach you guys in like 2 minutes how to collect data, but actually having the experience and knowing how to interpret that data, I've had over 500, 600 hours of looking at GPR data. So being able to interpret that from having somebody that's just looked at it for a couple of weeks versus, having a true professional, that does make a difference. So when we go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, it's so interesting that you mentioned that, because I've seen some of the readings that these GPR units produce. There's like these little bitty blips or whatever, it's like, how do you know that's something? It's
because you looked at it 500 times.
Well, yes, now I understand it. Yes.
That sounds painful. We do a little bit of that line locating at Diamondback, and I can't do it. It hurts my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leave it to him.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, underground utility locating is very complex, and it definitely requires individuals with correct set of expertise. And that's where my team at UES really excels at, because each of us have PEs, PGs. We're professionals. We've gone through those vetting processes. Other similar companies that you guys are probably familiar with, they oftentimes just send individuals who might not necessarily be even in the industry before, and they'll send them out for like a 2-week training session with, whatever their internal policies are, or, whatever the manufacturer's training protocol is. And they just turn them loose after those 2 weeks. So, it is quite tough to kind of quantify, that professional experience versus somebody that hasn't really had that level of training. Go ahead.
Are there certifications for that?
Great question. There is not. There's no certification in the United States that certifies nationally as a professional utility locator. Now, in other countries like the UK and Australia, and I'm going to give them props for that. They do have a process that is required to do that. I know that there are actual certifications through the equipment manufacturers saying that, hey, you're certified to use the equipment, but not necessarily certified to interpret that data. So that's one of the things that we see pretty commonly.
Hey, Kent, real quick, let's talk about Extreme Aerial Productions.
Let's do that. Also known as EAP, they are passionate about capturing the perfect shot. Founded in 2014, Extreme Aerial Productions is a professional aerial drone, video, and photography company based right here in Scottsdale, Arizona. From the ground to the air, they capture it all, from scanning to BIM, from topo to design. They've got you covered.
Yeah, they really do. They work in all 50 states, are FAA approved for commercial drone operations, and backed by the best aviation insurance money can buy. They have the highest grade drone equipment available, meaning their clients receive the most professional photography and videos.
And I don't think I'm making this up, but if you book more than one flight, you'll actually get a date with the one and only Mark Taylor.
That is awesome.
To find out more, go to extremeaerialproductions.com.
I'm curious. I want to circle back to when you said you deliver like 2D and 3D models. Like, talk a little bit about how you develop. I mean, these guys just talked. The data you get from some of this. Some of this collection is blips on a X-ray or whatever. How do you take that and deliver a 3D model of an underground profile?
Yeah, great question. So, one of the things that we take a look at is a lot of our data results in like what we call heat maps, right? So the heat maps will kind of show us where anomalies are at, but there are other let's say metadata that's involved in there. So like with GPR, when you're pushing the system across the surface, you're actually seeing a cross section into the ground. So you're seeing an X and Z plane. And so, by interpreting that data, we can associate a depth with these anomalies. And, so having known depths and then obviously known diameters or an approximate diameter, that allows us to actually model that into a 3D model. So, what we like to do is we like to bundle this in packages that we can send to a civil engineer, whether that might be as a DWG or a Revit file, or Navisworks, whatever their preferred method is, so they can start performing their clash detection with their design.
So, Aaron, tell me if I'm wrong. The records that we have in this country for infrastructure as it pertains to underground utilities, pretty bad, all in all, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And actually, I want to say the DIRT report, because we're dirt guys, which is released by the Common Ground Alliance.
Common Ground Alliance.
Yeah, the Common Ground Alliance.
Is this like the Flat Earth Alliance? Is it the same thing?
I know. I don't know who comes up with this stuff.
Dirt guys.
Yeah,
dirt nerds.
Dirt guys. Yeah,
dirt guys. Yeah. I think they say that, I want to say the number of utilities that are hit in a single year is like 60 to 70% greater than any other first world country. So the US is so far behind. It's so far behind.
Yeah.
But one of the other things they say is by spending $1 on just putting paint and flags out in the field. So if you just give 811 a call, and we all know 811 very well. 811's free of charge to you guys. It's not. I wouldn't say it's the best service, right? But it definitely does some of the jobs to get the work done. They say just by putting paint and flags out in the field that you're reducing the likelihood of hitting a utility by at least 60 to 80% of the time. And they find that every dollar that you spend on that effort saves you about $25 to $26 on that return on investment. So, if you have a $10,000 private utility locate, you can be saving quite a bit of money downstream from that.
And not to like harp on Sue stuff too much.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but there's different quality levels, if I remember right. Like there's like quality level, well, A, B, C, and D, but D is like the most basic, correct?
Yeah, exactly. You have the right idea. The way I like to talk to contractors and GCs about quality level D information is typically going to be based off of like, hey, when we go out to a job site, our last line of defense is our PPE, our hard hat, our steel-toed boots. That's our last line of defense.
Yep.
I say that, hey, our as-built, that's our last line of defensive safety out on site. I don't want to have to rely when I go out and I start performing excavations. I don't want to have to rely on a 1975's drawing because that's just going to get us in a lot of trouble right there. So that's kind of where that initial stage kind of starts in that process.
Sure. And we've thrown a lot of terms already. There's surveying, there's reality capture, there's subsurface engineering, there's virtual design, there's GIS. How are we bringing all of these different technologies together?
Yeah. The biggest thing is if everything is in the same coordinate system, right, they can be brought in to the same location, right? And that's just a general concept right there. At NC State, when I took our GIS, go pack, let's go.
Go pack.
Yeah, let's go.
Fingers.
Yeah,
shake and dance.
When we go through our GIS coursework, they talk about getting everything into the correct coordinate system, and that's one of the struggles is just getting all that information into like that one specific work area. And so you can imagine you have your reality capture, whether that might be photogrammetry or if that may be laser scanning, SLAM based laser scanning, of course, or if that's civil engineering drawings, whatever that data set may be. You do want to have that into a common space. And so what we do at UES is we are experts in bringing all these data sets, whether they're internally created, so whether that's GPR data or time domain EM, which I never even talked about, but all these different geophysical techniques, all the reality capture, GIS, all that stuff gets pulled in together to create kind of a seamless package. And that way you can work around with all that data set, all those different data sets.
So pulled together where? Like what is the deliverable? What is the end user getting?
Yeah, so the end user is typically getting, so if we're doing like a underground utility investigation, right? A SU investigation, or maybe we're locating underground storage tanks, right? We'll model that into 2D or 3D, typically in like civil 3D or plant 3D. Typically Autodesk is kind of the preferred software package. And, we're pushing that directly to the client. So at the end of the day, the client has typically a DWG, so a CAD drawing, and a Navisworks file. And I know that the virtual design and construction folks at a lot of design build firms like Hensel Phelps or Skanska, for example, they operate oftentimes in Navisworks, so they can perform clash detection whenever they're building up their BIM models. When their civil engineers hand over 3D civil drawings or models to them, they're typically performing clash detection on design right there. So we kind of just streamline that process from the below grade aspect, so that that data, the way they interact with it is no different than if a civil engineer handed them that information.
Got it.
Yeah.
Just because I'm a surveyor, talk about the importance of survey control as it pertains to all these different ways of collecting data that we talked about.
Wait, who says survey control is important?
That's what we're going to find out right now.
Okay, sure.
It may not be. I could be wrong.
Could be wrong.
100% important, always.
Do we get to do
and I
spirit
cannot
fingers when we
stress
find
that
out we're right?
enough.
We got to come up with our own thing, like something. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't stress it enough. It's very important to have that. And typically when we go out to our projects, we actually ask for the existing control to tie into. And that's
Genius.
because we want
What a concept.
Wow.
What a concept.
Yeah, I know,
A couple
right?
contractors you can talk to.
Aaron, you just got 95% of our audience nodding their heads like, oh,
Slapping
thank you.
their laps
Yes.
in the truck.
They're like, we like this guy.
Yeah, no, I mean, we did, kind of like your guys' last episode with Michael Gula, he kind of was talking about how much trial and error that was involved in his company. I mean, the same thing was with our process. This is a thing that we've been doing for like over 10 years now. And, at first we didn't even consider survey control in collecting all this information. And now it's a must, like you have to do it. In the new standard, which is the ASCE 3822 standard, it actually doesn't even talk anything about survey control. All it talks about is the accuracy in locating underground infrastructure and what that's required at. So there's a lot of things that I think still need to be addressed in that. But yeah, I'd say 100% in any type of project, survey control is very important.
Absolutely. And if just everything was just geo-referenced, even if it was just a Latin long, how much better would that make all our lives when it comes to all this stuff, right?
Make life a lot easier.
Oh, jeez.
Well, I put these plans in the grid for you. Oh my God. Don't
Makes
touch.
it so much easier.
Yeah. So what about I have to imagine that the size of these files that we're talking about, they've got to be pretty large. Not so much.
Actually, not really that large, to be quite honest.
Okay.
I think the largest part of it would be just the data from laser scans, right? And you can choose to have that in the data sets if you want to, or if you don't want to. It doesn't really matter to us. Obviously, the way that we use the laser scan data is to give contextual information for the underground utilities, right? If you visit a site and you're collecting underground data, well, you kind of want to know really what's going on above ground as well, and what's related to that. So really on file size, you're only looking at maybe at max with a Navisworks like NWD file, like maybe a megabyte or two.
Holy
and the
crap,
same thing
wow.
with a DWG.
That's crazy.
It's really not that bad.
Oh, wow.
Because you have to remember, like underground utilities and underground storage tanks, things like of these natures, they're actually the geometries of the things that we're modeling are pretty primitive. They're LOD 200, for example. And that's because geophysics generally does not have enough resolution to image certain specifics, like specific information, like pipe diameters, the actual pipe fittings on things. You can see it sometimes, but it's not common. And so, we really have to make a lot of approximation on some of our models. And we also have to, just kind of give the bare minimum basics.
Well, it's also, it's not like a pipe, for example. They're not making 8.35 diameter inch pipe. It's either 8 or 10 or 12. So based on the data, you can get down to, okay, that's an 8-inch pipe.
Sense.
It's got if it's PVC, it's got an OD from this table of this, and that's how they can, I'm assuming they can get down a little closer because the accuracy, I mean, obviously given the constraints. Really quick, I'm curious, you mentioned something that spawned this question, but you said, sometimes your clients are also interested in what's going on above the ground a little bit. So like, for example, a valve or a hydrant or whatever, how you see it at the surface compared to below. Where does that line start and stop for you guys? And you partner with survey companies that get or laser scanning or whatever. And how do you tie into For example, laser scan an area and you get all the detail you want, and then somehow you have to connect what you can't see.
Right. Yeah. Great question. So, I can't obviously give you super specific information.
Company secrets aside, as vague as you can.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is when we're collecting mobile laser scan data. There's a lot of providers that are out there. I know that you guys have interviewed several of them in the past. Our preferred provider is Navis. I think they're just way ahead of the ball game than anybody else out there. Shameless plug.
Sure.
What's really great is if we establish survey control, and we're surveying all of our underground findings right through geophysics, and we're also tying into that same control using our reality capture systems like the Navis VLX system. Since everything's already all being kind of collected in the same coordinate system, in the same localized control system, everything ends up falling right on top of each other. So we did have initially like some issues just because Autodesk is not great with handling point clouds all the time. And so like we would have point clouds dropping in and it'd be in the right place, but it'd be like 4 feet off. And so we were just having to like troubleshoot that. And it was just so concerning, but we finally figured it out. And it's just simply that you have to change your insert units. It's just like these really small things that make a difference.
Are you using a Navis yourself?
Yes.
Do you love it?
Oh, yeah, it's great.
I just demoed one last week.
Which one?
The Navis.
The new one?
The thing you wear.
Yeah, the new one?
You look like a total idiot.
Yeah.
You look like a nerd.
Yeah.
It's this big, stupid thing, but I was totally blown away. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys use that?
It's insane. It does kind of blur the line of like what is acceptable in terms of having expertise in using a system like that, because it does kind of make it too easy for random Joe off the block to pick up the system and collect the data,
like Kent,
i.e. Sean.
That's a big selling point from them. They
sure.
They told me that straight up. They said, "Do you have guys that work under you that you need to train?" I said, "I have a pack of monkeys that don't know what they're doing," and they said, "You just strap this on them, tell them to walk in circles, close a loop, and it scans everything as they walk, and it's super easy and it's terrifying."
Yeah, well, you just got to have the expertise on the other side that puts all this together.
Is that you? Is that where you come in? You're the expert on the other side?
I'm on the expert in the above and below. So, yep, that's where I come in. But I mean, I would say like, from the reality capture side of things, like Navis has intentionally, from a marketing standpoint, made it intentionally easy to collect that data. But I think it's also important to recognize that, hey, we should also be making sure we have correct QC and QA processes involved, not only from the reality capture side, but also from the geophysics, the geophysical and below grade investigations as well.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to say, what he just said.
Yeah.
What the smart
he
guy
just
said.
He just says that a lot.
Much better
than you said.
Yeah.
Hey, Kent, before we go any further, tell me about Topodot.
Well, before we get to that, let me mention that Topodot has been a loyal contributor to the Geoholics since day one. And as a surveyor, you know the importance of maintaining quality control through your process. I just found out recently there is actually more than 6,000 users all over the world that trust Topodot software to accurately extract topographic features from point clouds.
Man, that's really cool. Like, how can I find out more information?
Well, first of all, I think all of our listeners should give them a call to get a demo on one of their very own projects and be ready to be blown away by their automatic modeling tools.
Do they have a website?
They do. For more information, simply go to topodot.com. So, Aaron, I mean, there's a lot of states, Arizona being one of them, unfortunately, where they are deregulating a lot of, threatening to deregulate a lot of professional licenses. In Arizona, professional geologists have been deregulated, actually.
What?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure there's other states that this is happening in. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was actually, initially when you had asked me this question a while back, I was just kind of taken aback because I hadn't even seen anything on it. And then I saw that South Carolina, just a couple miles south of me, they're trying to deregulate, geology, professional geology as well. It's kind of frightening, to be quite honest, because, if we're deregulating something that, really has a huge impact on the health and safety of not only people that are involved in the actual, job site, but also the, people that are just commonplace around us. That's actually pretty scary in my opinion. If I had a geologist that was licensed, that stamped and sealed something, and the site had a huge sinkhole in it, that geologist is going to be held accountable to an extent, and so are other professions that are involved in that process. But if we start deregulating these types of things, then who is held accountable for injuries or things that might be potentially cases to sue and have civil lawsuits for?
Sure.
Where is the line of professional versus just somebody who says they can do something? That's what's scary.
That's a great question. And Sean, I'm going to loop you into the conversation.
Sure.
So you are a professional
civil engineer
with what, a geotechnical?
There's nothing.
But you're a geotechnical engineer, though.
Yeah, I just do a lot. In Arizona, there's not a separate designation for a geotech engineer.
So
all geotechs get a civil license. Some that you may have to take the geotech depth or the breadth, whatever. I can't remember the portion of the exam that's focused in your discipline.
Yep.
But my professional license and stamp looks just like any other civil engineer in the state.
So what is
though I do mostly used to do mostly geotech engineer. Now I'm kind of more broad, but
So what's the difference between geotechnical engineering and a geophysicist, I guess?
Yeah, the best way I can describe it is all the stuff that Aaron just described him doing really comes down to a couple data points that I need to design a foundation.
Gotcha.
I'm not good at collecting all the data as well as he is. If I in the perfect world, I would not do any field investigation. I would have more sophisticated guys like Aaron do it, and at a much higher level, and then I could get a lot more data based on what he provides to provide a more detailed design, or not necessarily more detailed, but there'd be more data behind it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, to build on that, just to give you an idea, a geotech engineer, typically they're going out to a site, and this is just very generally, but they go out to a site, they take a drill rig out there, they collect soil samples at a specific point where they deem necessary. So, maybe where they're going to be putting deep foundations, and they drill into the ground, they collect soil samples. Those samples get taken back to the lab, and there's a whole bunch of different tests that are done on them. And then geotech engineers' position is to take all that data and do a whole bunch of calculations, determine what is going to be useful for the structural engineers and individuals involved in helping build those buildings to correctly build it at like the specific geology out on site.
Interesting. So Aaron,
and to compound on that, the tests that are run are specific to what is planned to be built on the site.
Gotcha.
And in Aaron's case, a lot of times they're doing an analysis of a larger area, and they might not even know what they're looking for. It's just, hey, tell me what's going on below the surface.
This is what Ken's looking confused. This is when we shoot the boreholes.
Yeah. This is where you guys come in and just shoot the hole and say, hey, here's where you did that. And then that's one of 1,000 data points for that spot.
Actually, what I'm really confused about is my buddy Rob's hat over here. I'm looking at this thing. It's like, is it a Phillies hat?
Yeah.
what is going on in the background? There's it's like a Hawaiian Phillies hat.
It's the summer. I don't know why.
This makes no freaking sense.
You just noticed it now.
Jeez, it's a distraction.
Is my shirt okay? It's an Eagle shirt.
Is that Aeropostale?
Is that Aeropostale? Yes, I thought the same thing.
Yes, it's Aeropostale.
Wait,
we're fighting one.
Are we back in high school?
That's awesome. Oh, it's so good.
Well, talk a little. You were talking about getting licensed. Talk a little bit about what a career in geophysics or being a professional geologist. How talk a little bit about how that career is. What advice you give to somebody that's interested in getting in something that you're doing.
Yeah. So I think the first thing is, most people do not go into geophysics. It is very heavy in the obviously physics, mathematics, and statistics areas. And so commonly we'll see most people shy away from geophysics just simply because there's a lot that's involved there. I actually end up having to educate a lot of geologists, whether they are PGs or if they're straight out of college, just because geophysics is not really heavily used, or I guess heavily taught in universities. Your more traditional geology courses like sedimentology and igneous and metamorphic petrology, those are really the things that the academias are pushing forward. So we don't really see a lot of people in the geophysics world. But what I would say is, any young geologist out there, when they first start their first job, they're going to be out in the field for quite a while. For me, I'm still out in the field, and I'm going into my 6th year of industry with my license. I go out there every single day. I collect data. It's no difference if you're a manager or department manager. You're still going to be out in the field collecting data no matter what you're doing. The difference is that, taking pleasure in realizing that, hey, you're actually going to be helping, people stay safe whether that be in the very immediate future, or if that's in the future when they're building a building and, you made sure that you did your due diligence so that that building that just got built doesn't fall over. What I'll say is, in the normal, or I guess average day of a geophysicist, we're going out to sites, we're deploying our instruments, and we're collecting just all these different tons of data, and we get to take that back into the office and interpret that. And that's what's really rewarding in my opinion, is because oftentimes these sites, they're just like big jigsaw puzzles, and you kind of just have to take all these different data sets and look between them and interpret them in coordination with each other. So that's what I find very interesting with geophysics.
So there's no degree in it, really.
There is.
There is one, but there's not a degree in like geotechnical engineering, right?
There is.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah. Of course there is.
Yeah.
There's a degree in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who offers that?
A lot of people.
University of Phoenix online.
NC State.
NC State.
Go back. Spear fingers.
So crazy. What else? I got something else here on my list of questions.
What's next, or what are you excited about? Like in the industry, or you personally, what do you see going? What gets you motivated, and what do you see that excites you in the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, there's a lot of things out there. I think for one, augmented reality is one of the bigger ones.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about that.
Yeah. Augmented reality, I think, is going to be kind of the mainstay in the AEC industry.
Yep.
I would say, like, in the AEC industry, we lag behind by like 10, 15 years to adopt any new technology. I mean, it takes a long time because you really have to get everybody bought into the concept. And you obviously have to train people how to use these new technologies. in my opinion, AR is going to be kind of the new front on how we do everything, right? Because if I can walk out to a site and show you where utilities are without there having to be paint or flags out on site, if I can show you if we're actually out on site and we're testing concrete to make sure that the mix is correct or whatever, and I want to be able to access all that information through AR and be able to report that up to whatever system, the mainstay is going to be with augmented reality. I know in today's world, I know there's a lot of companies out there that are experimenting with showing MEP, for example, in a new space. And I think like using Trimble Connect, for example, and those are really great applications. And I think it's only going to get better and better. But really, we have to adopt these technologies and we have to be comfortable. And it's much the same with like AI, for example. People are really afraid of it and not adopting it. And what I would say is, just kind of like the increase in SLAM algorithms and how accurate things are and how usable the systems are nowadays. If you don't start utilizing these new technologies, you're going to get lost in the dust compared to others that are actually innovating and trying to use these technologies. So that's what I really get really interested about. The other thing that I'm really interested about is from the aspect of a national underground utility infrastructure plan. This is something that Australia and the UK are currently doing. They're mapping out the whole entire country for all their underground infrastructure. And that's a nationwide thing that they're doing. In the US, like we've already talked about, we're we're 50 years behind.
Yep.
And I think that's because we have privatized all of our different utilities, right? You have Verizon and Comcast and Sprint and T-Mobile and whoever else is out there just for communications. Then you have like Duke and all the other providers for electric. And nobody wants to give up these assets to a higher level, right? They don't want to let other people know where these things are at. And I can understand why. We wouldn't want to have like another nation being able to access our infrastructure, but that also is what's going to prevent us from being safe when we're actually redeveloping on sites. And so what I would like to see in the next 5 to 10 years is a revamp of that idea across the nation.
Well, not only the safety, which is obviously the number one concern, but the sheer cost of doing infrastructure projects when every single time you have no idea what's down there. I mean, it most likely would put Aaron out of a job in some cases. But if there was an inventory of basically an accurate as-built for the entire nation's infrastructure,
that'd be amazing.
Every single project you would go to, you already knew what was down there.
That'd be absolutely incredible.
Will never happen.
It won't happen in my life.
Never happen.
Yeah, I actually have something to speak on that. I will say to just everybody that's listening in on the podcast that you do have to be careful. There are companies out there that claim that, they're mapping out the whole state of Texas or Florida or whatever. And you just have to be careful because you do have to recognize that, like we were talking about, that is quality level D information. So just historical information coming from satellite imagery or from as-builts. There will always be need to actually have boots on the ground, physically locating things with advanced geophysical techniques.
There's your boots right there. Your new nickname.
This guy.
I was doing that today in Buckeye.
Boots Morse.
Let's go.
No, that's a really good point, Aaron. I'm glad you brought that up because there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people collecting data. Let's face it.
Yeah,
everybody's collecting data at this point, but there's not like a central that I'm aware of. No. Like a central. What's the word I'm looking for? Where like it would be really nice if everybody would be willing to, first of all, take all that data they're collecting, share that information in one central library. What do you call that? Composite? Not what's the word I'm looking for?
No idea what. No
Compository.
Repository.
I said
repository. Yeah, repository.
I said compository.
Well,
no.
The three of us put brains together and got one answer.
Yeah. Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
That's got to happen. It's got to happen.
But then you go into, like you said, that's level D. Like who's going to make sure that all of that data is accurate? And you could get the guys that are as sophisticated as the people in this room, and then the guys just that buy a Navis and go around and scan stuff and then throw it in, and then all of a sudden that the repository says, "Oh, look, it's just stuff going everywhere." When who's gonna make sense of what is accurate and what's not?
You, shit. No, him. That's how he keeps his job.
That's how he keeps his job.
Yeah. Well, what I'll say is, like, there's a couple other quality levels involved on that, and I think, like, for example, quality level A, which would be like actual validation of utilities, that would be kind of where, if we had a repository of all these different utilities, then contractors could go out and daylight, test pit, pothole, whatever you want to call it, to actually validate that those utilities are in those locations out on their sites. That way, obviously, they're being safe and they're making sure they don't have any conflicts with that. So, if you did a quality level B, which is the actual geophysical investigation with further the actual validation efforts, then, I think that's how that would work.
Good stuff, man.
What else? What else you want to get out there, Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, I think, what I kind of want to drive home out there is that I think anytime that you do a geophysical investigation or you're locating something out on site, I think that it's always good to ask who is collecting that data, right? What is their expertise? What is their background? What techniques are they using out on site? How long have they been doing this type of work? And just really quantifying, qualifying is what we're purchasing really going to solve the issues that we're having out on site. Because commonly I will see out in the industry that say, hey, I can push a GPR and I can find all of your USTs or all of your all the debris out on site. And I would say
no.
Yeah, I was going to say that's never the case. That never happens. And so employing individuals that have professional experience, like myself, PG is, much the same as a PE. It's you're licensed to do something like this. Having somebody that has the background in that to collect that data, that is a QA and QC on your part as the client or the contractor to make sure that, hey, you may be spending the extra money to do something like this, but you're also not going to get, something like, PDF comment callouts on a PDF. Like, you're going to get an actual 2D, 3D model, a northing, easting, and elevation, and you're doing your due diligence to make sure that you aren't, just choosing somebody that can do it super cheap just because they say they can do it. So that's what I would say out there in the industry.
Yep. There's a lot of over-promising and under-delivering taking place.
Oh, absolutely. And
especially as new technologies come out.
Some people do see this exercise as just a check of the box of the 5 things they need to do before they move to the next step. But he's already kind of illustrated the value and especially the cost that goes into poor data. It's just
absolutely
it just compounds. So
no question.
Good stuff.
What was it that you said last week? Dirty data, right?
Dirty data.
Yeah, dirty data.
It's like dirty dancing.
Right. All right. One last question. I ask everybody. I'm sure you're aware, Aaron. Do you have a mantra that you live by?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that I kind of live by is, try not to get stressed over the small stuff, right? In our daily lives, we have all these different things that can go right, obviously, and a lot of things that can go wrong and can be stressors in our life. And so my biggest thing would be, hey, just recognize the things that are important to put it lightly, give a fuck about.
Yep.
Actually put your time and effort into those things. The smaller stuff, don't really sweat it. Don't really give in to the stress and anxiety involved in that. Because at the end of the day, is it really worth your time to really, worry about things that really, are so small and minuscule? So that's kind of the mantra I live by is, don't sweat the small stuff. Give a fuck about the big stuff.
Love it.
Nobody's going to die.
Nope.
Yes, goddamn it.
Nobody's going to die.
Sweat it.
All right.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to die. No.
And I guarantee you, Aaron lives a less stressful life than those that do sweat the small stuff.
Oh, 100%.
absolutely.
No question.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron, before we let you get out of here, let's go around the table real quick. Rob, anything else, man? I had to calm you down a couple times. You were getting out of control.
No, right.
Anything to add?
So I do have a question for you. As far as your deliverables go, you're talking about eventually, what was the term you used for the virtual reality?
Augmented reality?
Augmented reality. There you go.
Yeah.
So how long do you think until people start to adopt that? Because you have big civil firms who still don't even do BIM. I mean, we provide them with a point cloud and they go, we just want points, right? Because that's the easiest common denominator is to reduce the survey data from a point cloud, from a scan to points. Most companies we deal with don't understand the benefit of having a full 3D point cloud until they need it. So where do you think we are as far as companies adopting that level of expertise when it comes to 3D modeling and rendering to take the next step into augmented reality? Like how far out do you think that is?
Good question.
Yeah, great question. Actually augmented reality is being used actually quite often nowadays. I would say in the utility side of the world, it's being used, I'd say in the municipalities, right? The caveat that I would say there is that, and this doesn't really get said too often, is that there are a lot of concerns in terms of actual accuracy on that data, right? My biggest things to avoid running into actual problems out on site would be that, first of all, you want to be in areas with open skies, right? Because we're using GPS as kind of the main driver in our navigation. And then on top of that, I would slap on a GNSS with RTK corrections. So we're having sub-centimeter corrections.
You just got Kent excited, by the way.
Kent's what's going on over there?
So you said sub-centimeter. Hold on.
I got all hoarded up.
Hold on. Whoa. Gotta readjust.
Oh, my God. And the wheels fell off.
Yeah. So, obviously you want to have really good positional information as where you are in the world when you're using augmented reality. It works pretty well in confined spaces. So like if you're inside of a building and you're trying to show, and you'll have to apologize for the train in the background. I'm sorry. But you'll have to, like in a confined space, you can throw MEP structures and all that, and it's fine because you are, oftentimes you'd be using like a HoloLens, so an actual AR headset. Mm-hmm. And those actually have LiDAR sensors on them. So they're actually tracking everything and creating meshes on in the background. So that's actually, I wouldn't say it's extremely common, but it is being commonly used. I just don't think that it's being used enough in the industry to say that it's ready to be commercially pushed out to the AEC industry. I'd say we're probably another 5 years out at least, in terms of like all the firms adopting like the technology.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. I think the thing with technology, this was true about like SLAM based laser scanning was, like 4 or 5 years ago, the tolerances on that were really poor.
Yep.
Right.
Terrible. Yeah.
I think it was the GeoSlam. Like 4 or 5 years ago had an accuracy of like a couple of inches. Right. Something, not really applicable for the industry. So as we get, further down the line in technology advancements, obviously we're going to be able to use these technologies more efficiently. But I think the main driver in all of this is going to be more so on us as professionals to actually push these services, innovate, right? And actually, be the ones that use it. Because if we start using it, we can push this out to clients. If the clients see the benefits behind it, and we can easily hand them a phone or a tablet or something like that, and they can just walk around a site and see it, then that might be better than just looking at a traditional report or just a CAD drawing. Right. So that's the way I would look at it.
It's good. Thank you.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. Awesome. Sean, anything else, buddy?
No, I'm good.
You want to give a little more? What is this? Bearcat love? What do you call this?
I can nerd out with a fellow Wolfpack guy, North Carolina guy, a geo guy on the dirt side. No, a lot of good stuff. What about you, Kent? You got anything else?
I don't. Just the usual. Adding value, making friends. Thanks, Aaron. This has been fantastic. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate it, guys.
Really appreciate it as well, and enjoyed the conversation. Would love to have you come back again sometime.
Yeah, maybe next time in person.
Oh man,
yeah. You got to wear the Navis. You have to wear the Navis though.
Yeah, you got to
wear the Navis or that weird hat. If anyone would like to,
with their Aeropostale shirt.
The Aeropostale
you better not come here.
Back in high school, quote of the fucking night. That was awesome. Oh my gosh! If anyone would like to be a guest on a future show, shoot us an email at info@geoholics.com. Bad songs. Cardiac Arrest, otherwise known as the Damar Hamlin song. Available everywhere. Until next time, don't sweat the small stuff. Pick and choose what you give a fuck about. And most importantly, be safe and healthy.
Amen.
Oh, stay classy, Geoholics.
Stay classy, Geoholics.